So if you followed this channel for a while, you know that I've talked a lot about tom tuning and tom resonance. But sometimes you can't get your toms on maybe your cheaper lower end kit to sound as good as the toms that you always hear on higher end kits. Why does this happen, even when we follow all those steps of tuning drums correctly? The truth is there are some big pitfalls that often happen with lower end kits that can damage how easily we can tune our toms and how easily we can get them to resonate. This could very well be one of the reasons why you're having trouble tuning your toms, so let's dig into this. Hey everybody, welcome to the Non-Glamorous Drummer, the channel all about giving you the non-glamorous, most important tips and topics of the trade to help you become a better drummer. Alright, so first let's talk about what these two big pitfalls are with cheaper kits. And then we're going to take apart my pretty cheap drum set and we're going to examine these potential pitfalls and see if my kit is guilty. This will be pretty interesting. You guys don't want to miss this. So I found these two big issues to be bearing edges and hoops. The highest end drums out there that are made by, a drum craftsman, he's going to make sure that those bearing edges are perfectly even. So that if you take the drum shell, no head or no hoop on it, and you set it onto a flat surface, it's going to completely line up with that and you could hold a light inside and not see any light escaping. The same should be true with the hoops, where the hoops are completely round, they're completely flat, so they'll sit onto a flat surface without wobbling, there's no warpage. So a smooth flat hoop should sit onto a perfectly even shell, which means that a drum will tune up evenly very easily. However, and this is really the big difference between nice kits that you pay a lot for and lower end kits, there's kind of a lack of quality control with cheaper kits, and that's why they're cheaper, because the companies are cranking out a bunch of them. And so a lot of beginner drummers are buying them, a lot of people are buying them as maybe a second drum set, and the quality control just isn't so great, and so you're not sure exactly what you're going to get. My drum set really falls into that category, where a ton of this kind of drum set have been made, and so I know that there wasn't a lot of expert attention paid to these details, so it's going to be interesting to see how my kit holds up. Let's say you examine your kit, your not so perfect craftsman drum set, and you find that, okay, the bearing edges are a little bit uneven or the hoops are uneven. What should you do about that? So imperfect bearing edges are going to cause some issues with getting the drum to tune evenly. A key to getting a good tone and good resonance out of our toms is being able to tune them evenly, and then from there we can kind of manipulate that and control the resonance or the tone, tuning one of the lugs tighter or looser, but for the most part we want to get them all even. Well, let's say that part of the bearing edge is slightly low, like maybe there's just a slight dip, ever so slight. That's going to cause there to be ripples in the head right there, because the head isn't going to be as tight on that part of the bearing edge as it is on another part. So you're going to have to tune that a little bit tighter to make up for it and to get rid of the ripples. What does that mean? That means you're going to have to tune the whole drum a little bit tighter so that you smooth it out, get rid of the ripples, get rid of the flappy sound so that you get a nice tone. What does all of that mean? Well, that means that we can only tune our drums so low if the bearing edges are warped. Warped bearing edges on a floor tom can be a big problem because you're not able to just finger tighten the head and hit it and go, oh nice, we got all this low end. Well, you've got to tune it a little bit tighter to get a nice tone and try to pull the low end from there. There's a whole bunch of videos on YouTube about here's how you tune a tom, it's not rocket science, just do this and this and this and it should sound great. Well, that is the truth, and if you've got a perfect shell, a really good drum, yeah, tuning should be extremely simple. It's not rocket science, it's very easy. But if you have these slight issues and inconsistencies with a drum shell, it can cause tuning to become a nightmare, and you really have to experiment and learn the issues with your drums so that you can work around them to get the best tone out of your potentially imperfect shells. Now, if the hoops aren't even, if the hoops are slightly warped, well, you can buy new hoops. A lot of times the hoops that come with these lower end kits aren't the greatest hoops. Just a little bit of foreshadowing, you'll see that my hoops don't completely hold up, and so I think I'm kind of motivated to buy some new ones. But if the hoop is the issue, that's something you can replace. Bearing edges are much more difficult to fix. You'd have to have someone who really knows how to do that, recut your bearing edges. So that's something that you kind of just have to live with. But hoops you can replace, that's not as big of a deal. So let's go take apart my drums. First I had to, of course, take the hoops off, take the heads off, take all the screws out of the hoops so that I could test the flatness of the hoops as well. I decided I would use two different testing surfaces just in case maybe one wasn't perfectly flat. Kitchen countertops are probably a pretty good go-to surface. I set my drum shell down on the countertop and started shining my flashlight inside and noticed, well, light leaks out all around because there's a glossy coating on the granite. So that doesn't work so well for the flashlight trick. So I brought in my second testing surface, which is this drafting board that I had in high school when I was taking a drafting class. And so it's a solid piece of wood, completely flat. It's a really good testing surface for this. So setting the drum on there, immediately if the bearing edges are uneven, you notice that the drum's gonna wobble. Hopefully you don't have any significant wobble, but by feeling around that edge, you can quickly find if there are slight inconsistencies. As you can see here, as I'm testing my drum, I find this little spot here where the rack tom is wobbling just a hair, so we know that we found some low points on the bearing edges because it's teetering off of the higher points. And sure enough, when we shine the flashlight inside, we see, yeah, there are some slight gaps where the light's coming through. Now I found the floor tom to actually be more consistent. For the most part, there was no teetering, no wobbling with the floor tom. There are some slight, really small inconsistencies, but small enough that the shell isn't wobbling. But you can see as we scan around the edge here with the flashlight aiming through, yeah, there's some spots where the light's gonna bust through. And so that's why sometimes when I've tuned up my drum, yeah, there's some ripples there on those low spots. So next I throw all my hoops there on the drafting board on the same surface and found that not a single one of my hoops was perfect. Now the black hoop was a little sturdier and a little more perfect than the other ones, but those silver hoops are really not great. One of them is actually slightly warped where it's not even a perfect circle. The silver hoop that was on the resin head of my rack tom before the black one was warped. I was looking at it one day and I realized this thing is not even round. This is like an oval. So I took it off and I found that I had an extra hoop from another drum set that I put on there. It's safe to say that the first upgrade I could make here would be replacing my drum hoops, and that's the first upgrade you could definitely make to your cheap kit as well. So at this point, maybe your question is, Steven, why do you play this cheap kit? Why do you not buy a better drum set so you don't have to deal with these things? Well, first off, this is kind of the non-glamorous drum kit, right? If I can tune this thing and make this thing work, then you can make whatever drum set you have at home work too, and so part of me likes the challenge. But okay, I know that's a reasonable question, and honestly, most of the gigs I play, I'm playing on house kits, and so I don't even have to bring my kit. And the gigs that I am bringing my kit to are usually random gigs, like maybe in a restaurant or at a festival, or maybe I'm just playing outside, whether it's a private event or at some kind of venue. And in the summer, I do a lot of these outdoor gigs, and you never know the weather. Here I live in North Georgia, and we have extremely high humidity in the summer. And if I'm gonna be hauling my kit outside in the high humidity, either setting it up in the sun in the afternoon, or I'm playing late into the evening with the high humidity, I don't want to take a nice drum set out there. I want to have this cheap kit that, you know, if it gets rainy and maybe there's a lot of moisture in the air, it's okay, I'm not going to worry about it. So that's why I hang on to this kit and I like to use it, because I like the challenge of making it work, because it does work. It's just fine for the gigs that I play, and I like not having the stress of carrying a $5,000 kit to an outdoor gig. Having said that, will I make an upgrade soon? Sure, I probably will at some point. But I kind of want to hang on to this kit because it's the non-glamorous kit. What do you guys think? Should I hang on to it or should I sell it and get a new one? Anyways, hey, if this video helped you guys out or enlightened you anyway with helping you figure out and diagnose maybe why you're having trouble tuning your drums, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Become a fellow non-glamorous drummer. There's a whole bunch of other videos about kind of these same topics on the channel. I'll link them in the description below, so go check them out before you go. Thanks guys for watching. I will see you next week.